Rebecca Paley est une autrice américaine. Elle vit à Brooklyn avec son mari et ses enfants. Elle écrit principalement des biographies et travaille régulièrement comme ghostwriter pour des célébrités qui souhaitent rédiger leurs mémoires. Certains de ses livres ont été classés numéro 1 des meilleures ventes du New York Times. Ses travaux ont également été publiés dans le New York Times et dans les magazines Mother Jones et ARTnews. Durant sa résidence, elle travaille sur un projet de roman tout à fait personnel lié à l'histoire de son père, qui s'inspire du genre inventé par Sebald, lequel mêlait histoire, biographie, mémoires et fiction dans son exploration de la Shoah et de la Seconde Guerre mondiale.
Sophie, thank you so much for this beautiful event, and thank you all for coming. Wow. So I just want to tell you about, this is a book I wrote with this woman, Betty Halbreich, who was a big figure in New York City fashions and style and taste circles. She worked at Bergdorf Goodman. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. And she started personal shopping there, and she was just a one of a kind. And we worked on her memoir when she was a sprightly, like 85 years old. And then when she was in her mid-90s, she really wanted to write another book. And we did it. And she felt she still had more to say. And so this is No One Has Seen It All. And it's basically little just thoughts on, as it says, lessons for living well from nearly a century of good taste. And I would normally feel weird about reading one of my co-author's books, but she passed away, unfortunately, before she saw it designed, she saw it edited, but she didn't get to see it make it to print. So this is carrying her legacy. And just one more piece of knowledge, this little section called Give Away Your Things Before You're Dead is about her. It takes place in her house, which was a incredible classic 8 on Park Avenue that she lived in for 70 years. And you can go online because the New York Times did a story and it's incredible. I highly recommend it. Okay, here we go. I open the cupboards in the kitchen pantry, quietly digging into my past life, and admire a tray made from a hand-embroidered linen preserved under glass. The little roses of French knots are now faded as they were sewn by my grandmother the year I was born. I know because she stitched her initials, JDR, and the date, November 1927. I am, of course, spending a Sunday organizing the kitchen cabinets. I have neatened, arranged, rearranged, folded, and looked through drawers so that there truly isn't anything left untouched. Being an overly orderly person, I am kind of running out of tidying up. Each time I tackle a shelf or drawer, the same thing goes through my mind. When I'm gone, left this planet, I want my children, or whoever is going through my possessions, at least to see order. Surveying my apartment these days, I see mountains of possessions of a long lifetime. In the strata of stuff, a history. Among the china, silver, bric-a-brac, books, pictures, silver sewing pieces, collections of whatever made me whole at the time, there's evidence of a younger me who always wanted more. And now, I must care for and eventually dispense them. Otherwise, I worry what my children will have to undertake when I'm gone. I imagine those huge dump trucks I see roaming the neighborhood. We take junk. They pull up to the front door, and all you have to do is dump. What a pity, because from my long experience, what comes around goes around. One can't hold one's breath for that time, however. Are my grandchildren ready and waiting for a Royal Crown Derby dinner set for 24 that sits on the top shelf of my kitchen's old-fashioned pantry? 4 shelves of the cupboards that run to the ceiling hold china, cups, and saucers, dinner plates, dessert sets, tea sets, collectibles, salt and pepper sets, even a powdered sugar shaker. To the right, there are soufflé pots in which I baked little chocolate soufflés long ago. Underneath are kidney-shaped plates I purchased on a trip to Italy and used to serve salad. Decorated delicately with blue flowers and gold accents, they look as if someone had folded over a corner of the plate. I simply adore them, just as I do the goblets with bunches of grapes cut from their milk glass. On and on. I have my grandmother's hors d'oeuvre plate from Hungary and my mother's majolica, a style of tin-glazed pottery that mimics the shapes of vegetables or fruits like cabbage leaves or scooped-out melon halves in which you can serve the real thing. I treasure my mother's corn plates and platter, from which I used to dish out sweet summer corn from the South Fork. It's a wonder these old shelves can stand up against the weight of this haul, which includes pewter molds we used for cranberry jelly or put in the freezer filled with different ice cream flavors for dinner parties. The smaller ones held chicken liver pâté decorated with sliced olives. The last shelves, housing silverware, have not been mentioned. In the days when I was married, silver pieces were a huge part of wedding gifts. Not today. No one, for starters, wants to care for and polish it. When I came to New York, we first moved into a small apartment where my silver collection took up much room. That soon changed when a woman working for me relieved me of my burden by taking many pieces into her possession. She removed them slowly, piece by piece, but it was a quick lesson for a newlywed girl of 20 when I discovered them gone. I still own a goodly amount today. It's wrapped in special tissue paper and bags with some tarnish-proof strips. I rarely visit or polish the majority of my collection. It's too much upkeep, and in no time tarnished again. More than I can dig into, it is all so beautiful and so of the past. My huge selection of cookbooks, some of which I've given to the handsome, lovely man who runs our restaurants at the store, brings back memories of lush dinner parties that took many weeks of planning. I read the cookbooks I collected like one reads a novel. After settling on a menu, I set out on the familiar route to our local grocer, butcher, and other purveyors. All knew our cook Frida and me quite well. During my married life, there was truly no reason to go shopping outside our Upper East Side neighborhood. My butcher shop was run by 3 generations of the same family. The greengrocer who would come out of the store to say hello when I walked by allowed you to finger the fruits and vegetables. The dry cleaner, the tallest man, would have something cleaned and pressed for you the same day. There were myriad local stores. Floor and Mirror sold the best licorice on the corner of Madison Avenue. William Greenberg's first bakery appeared next to the grocer and brought the smells of schninken and coffee cake. Sorry for my pronunciation. His bakery is now an institution, but in those early days, Mr. Greenberg could be found in the window decorating birthday cakes and many-tiered wedding cakes. It wasn't only food we shopped for. If you turned the block, you ran into a small shoe repair store where a lovely Italian man and his wife worked long hours making your beaten-up shoes good as new. The flower shop across the street sold the first lilacs in the spring. At the hardware store, everyone knew you by name and where you lived. Going back toward home, the owner of the apothecary was completely in charge. We addressed him as Mr. All Our Drugs. When the babies came, he provided everything we needed into the wee hours of the night. Within a small, few blocks wide area, there was most anything one and one's family could want. The biggest treat, and one we partook in most every day, was meeting for lunch at Schraff's, where we ate innumerable egg salad sandwiches. Then I would buy yummy cheese bread to take home. I've never found one like it since. They weren't the most productive days, I must look back and say. Before dinner parties, the local vendor I relied upon most was the florist. I always had an abundance of flowers all over the house. For parties, the florist and I would hold summits. I used one florist in particular, Flowers by Court, who knew me very well. I would spend the day there collaborating on extraordinary arrangements. Together, the florist and I devised tureens of riotous tulips in the dead of winter, or filled an empty white bird cage in my dining room with lily of the valley as delicate as lace. We worked very hard at creating a unique tableau for each holiday, each dinner party. I didn't use vases or containers from the shop. Instead, I brought something out from my large collection of china and tableware as inspiration. If I purchased a new tablecloth embroidered with blue and white flowers, out came my blue and white china and perhaps blue hydrangeas and white lilies from my opulent glass épergne. It was wearing. In my day, all my married friends, me included, tried to outdo one another. It became very competitive. But in all honesty, I always won. Hosting was bred into me by my mother. I loved her dinner parties. She had marvelous taste, and I tried to emulate her in every way, even if I didn't want to think that's what I was doing. Unconsciously, that most likely was why I painted my dining room in Wedgwood blue, hung chinoiserie drapes of bluebirds and branches on a white background, and filled the hutch with blue and white ceramics. My mother adored blue and white. Unlike my mother, I am an introvert. Really the lady behind the door. This too stoked my sense of achievement in setting a beautiful table where all without speaking one can express artistry and welcome guests. During my younger life, I so often fantasized about overseeing the kitchen, fixing the table, seeing to it that everything was perfect, and then walking out and shutting the door. I absolutely wanted to labor over the preparations for a luxurious evening, but would have much preferred to leave before it began. Instead, I had to swallow my fears along with the soup and entertain our guests while my husband, Sonny, the ha-ha guy, drank. Although the drinking caused so many fights in my marriage and I no longer drink, I still love the bar we built in the apartment. It really is a very unsophisticated bar, built into a closet nook in the den when we moved in. I might add that some of the bottles, both opened and sealed, remain even today. Vintage booze. All the crystal cut glass decanters are lined up and the silver ice bucket holds a pair of tongs, although it hasn't been filled with ice for quite some time. The shelves above hold glasses of all shapes. I like that some don't match. There's something uncontemporary about it. Out of these collections from years ago, my favorite are my grandmother's Delft coasters and a silver decanter in the shape of an old whiskey bottle. This is all from my old life. Sonny is gone, and so are the friends we used to have over. But the crystal finger bowls in which people really dip their fingers and the silver ashtrays that went on each table remain. Today's world has changed so much from my days as a wife. You don't need any of the above for takeout. I should take a page from my mother, who minimized before she died. Sonny and I moved my mother from the brownstone she loved into an apartment around the block in a new high-rise facing Lake Michigan, and she hated it. She said it was too small and that she had never lived in a one-bedroom apartment. That it was charming and blue and white, done with Bruce Grega's wonderful taste, she never really loved it there. When anyone walked in and invariably exclaimed how wonderful the view was, Mother always said, "I don't like looking out of windows." And she didn't. The refrigerator contained a 5-pound can of coffee, champagne, Sara Lee coffee cake, maybe a jar of caviar, and peanut butter. Nothing to make or put together a meal. She sold all the stuff from the old house, but then her beloved bookstore took up most of her time, so she didn't really care about the domestic side of life anymore. Living in a large apartment alone, surrounded by a lifetime of things with memories attached, I have gone the other route. I never changed my environment. Everything in the apartment remains the same as it was when we were a family. There's one big exception, my clothing closets. I know I should be getting rid of so much more, otherwise I wouldn't be around to see where all my things end up. I wish others would come and denude me of some, for it is such an effort to do it myself and a very emotional one. There are several reasons for this, including the fact that I don't like disruption. It doesn't occur to me to disrupt my possessions. I have liked orderliness all my life. Years ago, I wouldn't go to bed if an ashtray was still full. Now I can't if a glass is unwashed. No, I need everything in its place. When a guest leaves my apartment, I instantly puff up the cushions, squashed by their presence. There is one notable exception to my tidying up obsession. Each time I open the door to a cabinet filled with old photographs, writing, and memorabilia, I quickly close it. Something very deep in my being keeps me out of the cabinet that houses a great deal of my past. There is a way to make deacquisitioning less chore and more celebration. In the last few years, I've been carefully going through my large collection of china and silver, and for a Christmas holiday, birthday, or any occasion when the spirit moves me, or more likely thought strikes me, take a piece down from its shelf, polish it, wrap it, and give it to a special friend. There are items in prime shape and in no way ready to be thrown away. But the question is the person going to feel about what they receive the way I do? Because these things are very precious to me, I wouldn't be hoarding them. I don't keep junk, but you can't control what other people feel or think, nor would I want to if I could. It makes me feel good to give them a treasure from my life. I try to give things away every holiday. I even count Valentine's Day, but not Halloween, which I've loathed since I was a little girl. Special occasions give me an impetus to go into the drawers, find something for a person who will understand it, and package it up. I recently collected a huge bag of pins that I bought from an antique fair 100 years ago to give as a birthday present to my dear friend Edward. You need not wait for New Year's or St. Patrick's Day to make someone feel special. As you're cleaning a drawer or the closet, if you happen upon a piece of jewelry or clothing that you haven't worn in an age and it makes you think of a friend or colleague, give it to them. It doesn't have to be anything costly. If you hand a friend a beautifully wrapped package on an ordinary day, they will have more time and energy to appreciate it than if it were a holiday. Maybe they'll really like it, maybe they won't. Either way, it will be from you, and that is meaningful. Even better, one should have a party, spread everything out, fill a room, invite those you love and would like to come to take and enjoy. That is truly a dream.